Well, I'm an economic officer at the embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan. I work on energy, trade, and extractives, which would include any kind of fuel or gemstones or ores or construction products. I've been here only 2 months. Before this, I was at the U.S. mission to the European Union in Brussels. And then prior to that, I was at the U.S. mission to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in Paris. I've served in a number of other places as well, sometimes doing environmental work and sometimes not. I follow pretty much all of the policies that the government has for my job. It's a little different. We get direction from the Secretary of State, from our bureau directors. We have the president's strategy on South Asia, so we feed into all of the different rules and regulations and policies, basically. I work with the Ministry of Mines and Petroleum here in Afghanistan, and they have a number of large mining areas, and these mining sites sometimes are co-located with archaeological resources. So there's one particular mine, it's called Mes Aynak, and it's a very, very large copper deposit. And Buddhists were using the site in the Bronze Age, as early as the Bronze Age, because of the copper there. And they have, I think, they've excavated over 5,000 Buddha statues from the site. So when you have these mining operations, you have to be very careful about the surrounding environment and also what's in the ground when you're digging. Right now, I'm enjoying working with the Ministry of Mines on all of the projects that they're doing. That they're getting ready to create several large mining contracts, and I'm hoping to get out to the sites and see them. I just came back from Mumbai, so I was there for a trade show where we were pairing Afghan mining companies with Indian companies that wanted to do joint ventures, and we would put them together in a room and talk about what each side was looking for. It was a week long, and it was, I think, very rewarding for all sides, for the U.S. side and the Indian side and the Afghan side, because they came away with, I think the official numbers are still bobbing around a bit, but something like 400 MOUs, several contracts, and a number of on-site sales. So it was a good week, and we had a lot of press coverage in the Indian press and even in the Pakistani press. So it was a huge success, and it was a lot of fun. I had a great time with my colleagues, just trying to help connect the Afghans to the rest of the world. So we have bureaucracy, we have memo writing, we have a number of meetings throughout the day. It's really nonstop busy with a lot of Washington interest in what we're doing and what the Afghans are doing and what kind of progress they're making. So I started looking at environmental work, and I got into it at the Air Force in Hampton at Langley. So I started working on environmental projects there. I had managed their wetlands program. Needed someone to make sure that they were in compliance with the laws that they were supposed to be following. So even in Panama, they're supposed to follow U.S. laws on Clean Water Act, wetland protection, and all of that. So I would go out with the teams that surveyed the wetlands and habitats and drew up the boundaries so that the Department of Defense would know where the sensitive habitats were in order to avoid them. One of the contractors that I was working with offered me a position in their company in Newport News. And soon after that, I got a we got a contract to work on, excuse me, Atlantic white cedar restoration in North Carolina at the Dare County bombing range. And so I brought that contract to Rob. I talked to him about it, and he coincidentally was at the same time was looking at a very large EPA grant. Anyway, Dare County bombing range is co-located with the Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge. And in working with the Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge and Dare County bombing range on the project, they offered me a job to come in and do environmental planning for the Fish and Wildlife Service. So I moved from the DoD position to the private sector position where I was working with Rob, and into the Fish and Wildlife Service where I was working for about 6 years, and I got into the State Department Foreign Service from Fish and Wildlife Service, and that took us to India, Tunisia, Iraq, Afghanistan twice, Paris, Brussels, and Washington. My first advice would be to apply for the lowest grade possible. So if they have a GS7 scientist advertised, even if you want to apply for the 9 or the 11, shoot low, because it's much easier to be competitive and get in when you're coming in low. And once you're in the government, it's really easy to move up.